All right, we're going to jump into the analysis of a potential flip. This is a made up at well, it's a real address, but it's not, we're not in California. Um, and this program we're using is called DealSimple. If you want to check that out, we'll leave a link in the description. But without further ado, let's jump into it. So I'm going to use numbers based on a property that we've done a few years ago, and it went decent. We made about 40, 50 grand on it. It definitely wasn't a home run, but certainly was good and would definitely do that deal again. So starting with the purchase price, we put in that figure, and we have this set up to where you play around with the purchase price after it spits out the numbers, and you kind of tweak it to arrive at the however much profit you're looking to make. So anyways, 170 is the 170,000 is the purchase price. Closing costs, say about 2%. Credits, we bought this off market, so I'm going to leave this blank. This would be more if you're an example would be if you're a real estate agent and you're buying a property on the MLS, you're going to get a commission for that, and most likely you're going to apply that commission to the closing costs and all that. So that's you would put this here. If you got some kind of lender credit, you would put that here. Seller credit, whatever. But for us, we primarily buy properties off market and have rarely encountered a scenario where we deal with this. So I think typically you'll leave this blank. The reno budget on this house, it was about 50. Now, if you want to get more granular, you can go right here, and it'll bring up, it's going a little slow because I'm on Zoom, but it brings up a breakdown of the exterior and the interior, and you can go through, enter this all line by line if you'd like, and then calculate it and carry it over. I'm not going to do that because it just takes a lot of time. But if you use our software, you can check that out. The annual property tax on this property, it was about $3,000 a year. Now, to find what this actually would be, you would go to your whatever county the property is located in. You would go to the county's. You would go to their. Usually, they have a real estate database where they have all this information. You can get it down to the penny, what the annual taxes are. Monthly utilities. This is going to be for electric, water, sewer, anything like that pertaining to the property. On this one, it was on public water and sewers. So that I forget exactly what that cost, but for this type of property, it was about a 1,500 square foot property, so not super big. So I would say it's probably going to be around 200, maybe even 250 a month. We're not talking about with a flip, at least you're not holding it very long anyway. So this number it definitely wouldn't screw up the deal. If it does, then probably shouldn't be looking at it in the first place. Home inspection report. This is if anybody out there has flipped properties, they know that buyers, especially first time buyers, are a pain in the butt to deal with, and they like to nitpick every little thing that could come up on a home inspection. So for a while, my partner and I were going, and we would always get frustrated when we would go to sell a property, and the buyer would beat us up on tons of little stuff. So now we budget for this on the front end because we just know it's going to happen. You're selling to retail buyers, it's just going to happen. So home inspection report, call it about $500, and then depending on what you think you could get beat up for, that's what we put on this line. So usually we'll do about $1,000, maybe more if it's a bigger property. But this should suffice. This should, it should make sense here. So, and then this would be anything else such as an HOA fee, condo fee, whatever. This property that we bought wasn't in a homeowners association, didn't have anything to deal with. So I'm going to leave that blank. And then I'm going to say that our hold period is going to be 4 months. Typically, we try to do that. We try to come in around 2 to 3 from cradle to grave, from when we purchase it to when we sell it. But we've had that go longer, and we always want to be conservative when we're modeling this out. All right. So the next thing is the hard money. So on this property, this was our first flip that we ever did. And I believe that we did 3 points on the front, and then the interest rate was 12%. Now we have different lenders, and we will typically get somewhere around 1 in 10 or 1 in 12, 1 point on the front end, 12%. But especially if you've never done a deal before, it's looked at by a lender as a little bit riskier. So you're probably going to have to pay a little bit higher in terms of the hard money. So and we did end up getting, I believe we actually got 100% financing, plus we had a few draws for renovations on this one. So I'm just going to put in, just to show, in case you got a second loan, I'm going to show it like that. So I'm going to put in 170. So we're getting 100% financing. And then what we do now a lot of times is I have a line of credit on my primary residence. So I'll draw on that to fund renovations for different flips that I do. So on that money, there's no points. I just draw on it. It's just a simple interest that I pay, interest only. And I believe the rate is around 5%. Let's say 6, just to be safe. And let's call this, let's say we need to draw 60 grand to account for closing costs, and then plus the reno cost. And then this one's ARV, let's say it's not 3.4 million, 340. Closing costs when we sell it, 1.5, probably end up around 1%, but we want to be conservative there. And this all depends on, I mean, ARV is very, I can't give much information on that. You just got to analyze the comparable properties that have sold, and try to come up with a conservative ARV. We're always, this ARV is the most important, in my opinion, is the most important thing, because if you're off on this by 5 or 10%, doesn't sound like a lot, but it can completely wipe out any profit that you would have made. So I highly recommend always being on the conservative side when looking at the ARV. Stuff like home inspection repairs, home inspection report, even the renovation budget to an extent, as long as you don't completely botch that and it doesn't come in double or triple what you put, even that isn't going to make or break the deal. But ARV can certainly make or break a deal. So closing costs when we sell are going to be about 1.5% on the conservative end. And then realtor commissions. My partner is a real estate agent, so we don't have to pay a seller agent. And typically we pay 2.5% to a buyer. So that should be 100% accurate. So then I'm going to hit calculate, and we're going to see what happens. So this, I'm trying to think, because, oh, you know what? We actually ended up selling this property for less than that. We actually ended up selling it for only about 320. I forgot. I was looking at the net profit, and it looked a lot higher than what we ended up making on it. So we sold it for that, and we also held it longer because the market sort of shifted right at the end of while we were renovating it. And it's still sold higher than our the ARV that we budgeted, but at one point in time, we thought that we would do a lot better than we originally thought. So anyway, I'm going to redo those numbers. So that puts us at about 64, still a little bit higher than what we ended up walking away with. I believe we walked away with about 47, 48,000. But this is a good conservative. This is a good way to look at a deal, and it's definitely conservative. So I have a sensitivity analysis here with these three different scenarios. And the first one is everything comes in exactly how you lay it out here. And no, the renovation cost is exactly same. The sale price is exactly how you lay it out, and nothing better, nothing worse. Now, scenario two is where the ARV is 2% lower and the renovation budget is 10% higher, and the hold time is 1 month longer. So this in this scenario, this would be us holding it for 6 months instead of 5, and the ARV would be 313 and some change instead of 320. And then the renovation costs are slightly higher as well. Now this one is way over budget. It's 5% lower on the ARV. Reno budget is 20% higher, and the hold time is 3 months longer. So this is sort of like a worst case type of scenario. And as you can see here, you're still in the black, so to speak. You're still making money. And that's a good that's good. Typically how we model these out is if our worst case is us breaking even or even losing a little bit of money, maybe 5 to 10 grand, we're okay with that. We'll take that risk because we believe that we're conservative on the ARV, and we should come in closer to scenario one. But in an Armageddon scenario, still not horrible. So if I were to put in worse numbers, like let's say we paid 200 for this. Let's say the loan was 200. So you'll see now this is what I'm talking about. So in this scenario, the worst case is it's effectively a break even. If you're losing 2 grand, it's going to end up being about a break even or a slight loss, but that's certainly not a one that would, cripple you forever. So anyway, that's how you and if we want to get into these numbers a little bit. So this is the sale price, and this is the I'm gonna move this back to how we originally had it. All right. So this is the sale price. This is the acquisition to ARV ratio. So it's basically taking what you're paying divided by the ARV, and then that's the percentage. 53%. If you're buying a property for 53 cents on the dollar, that's I'm going to make a disclaimer that I'm not giving anyone advice. There's nothing like that here. But if you're buying a property for 53 cents on the dollar, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to do well with it. Usually we try to be somewhere around 70 to 75. If we're less than that, then that's typically a good deal for us, and ones that we've made out pretty well on. So that's that. These are the acquisition costs, and it's really just the closing costs on the front end, just everything that it takes to purchase the property, all the costs and fees, title company fees, title insurance, yada yada yada. So reno costs, this breaks down everything here except for the property taxes and the utilities. So it adds up the reno budget, the home inspection report costs, and then any repairs associated with that. That's right there. Holding costs are going to be property taxes and then any monthly utilities. So for this, it's 3,000 divided by 12, and that's what you would pay monthly. We have 5 months. So anyway, it comes out to that. Financing costs are anything associated with the hard money loan, and then any HELOC or second loan that you are using. And this factors in points as well as just the interest that's carried over 5 months. Disposition costs are the closing costs when you go to sell it, and then any realtor commissions that you pay. And then the all in is just you add everything up here, and and you come to your all in cost. And then the difference between that, the all in cost, and the sale price is what you end up walking away with. So the way we're in Northern Virginia, and it's competitive here, and prices are typically higher than the rest of the most areas in the country, obviously with the exception of say New York or Los Angeles or some other major metros like that, Seattle. Those are pretty expensive areas, but it's fairly expensive here, and we shoot for a net profit somewhere around 10% when we do deals. So in our best case scenario, if we're accurate or not accurate, if we're conservative on our ARV and we feel confident in that figure, then we try to end up somewhere around 10% or higher. So hopefully this was valuable and gave you a little bit of insight as to how to look at a flip. Um, Again, check out DealSimple if you want a simple calculator to do all this. And thank you guys so much for your time.